Well, I'm balling out. I'm sprawling out with this $50. Like I say, I buy the cologne, and I go home, and my grandmother corners me. She's like, Andre, I lost some money around here in the last couple of days. Have you seen it? No, Grandma. I don't know where no money at. Of course, I lied. And I mean, what are you gonna do in a situation like that? You're already in trouble. You already know good and well that you took that money, and at this point, you're just trying to save your face, or save your backside, I should say, because you know that a whooping is coming if they were to find out that it was you. So I lied, and I told my grandmother that I had no idea where this money was. Well, my grandmother was no fool. She did a bit of investigating, and she called up to the school and found out that Andre had been quite generous that day in sharing some things. Like I said, I snuck out of the school confines and went to this little storefront that was on the outskirts of the campus, and I bought candy and gum. And I was like Robin Hood. I'd steal from the rich and give to the poor. That was kind of how I did it that particular day. I grabbed this $50 and I shared whatever loot that I was able to secure with it with my friends, and the word got out. So when my grandmother called and found out that I had done this, it was easy to trace back to me as to where the money had went, because hey, where am I at 12, 13 years old going to get the money to do the things that I did? Now, she didn't find the bottle of cologne right away, but eventually I had to confess that too. And I remember those kind of things I did frequently, was always getting into stuff, always getting into trouble, because my mind always was never settled. It was never settled. A troubled mind. And I remember around this time, I was getting into trouble in school on campus at Bahamas Academy, where my aunt, my mother's sister, worked. And I remember our guidance counselor at the time, I will dare not call his name. I was getting in troubles to the extent to where I was being held on punishment or in-school suspension twice, 2 or 3 times a month in school. I was in the 7th or 8th grade. And again, my grades were piss poor. I'm the kind of kid at this time, I'd bring fireworks to school and set them off in the gymnasium. I was the prankster, throwing papers in the back of class. Man, homework, I didn't know what that word meant. I didn't do any kind of homework. I barely did classwork. The only class that I excelled in was Bible. Believe it or not, that was the only class that I had excelled in. And during this time, the guidance counselor on campus, because of my trouble and the things that I was doing, he pulled me into his guidance counseling office, and he looked me dead in the face and he said, Andre, you ain't never gonna be nothing. Now, what is that to tell a 13 or 14-year-old at this time of life? That you will never be anything. You will never achieve anything. I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was trying to encourage me to get my act together. But the way that he said it was so cold. It was calculated. It was like, oh, you're nothing. Your mom is from the Bahamas. Your dad's American. Your folks ain't got nothing. Y'all are living with your grandparents. You ain't got nothing. You're just a little scrawny kid that's got issues. You don't get good grades. And his kids went to school there. And his kid, I remember his son that I was in class with, he was a good athlete, and his daughter was a good student. In fact, they were both good students. And so I could imagine, as he was saying what he was saying to me, that he's comparing my life to the life of his children. And in retrospect, or in comparison, you aren't going to be anything. Look at my kids. Look at me. I'm the guidance counselor here at this school, and my kids are valedictorian. They're on the good grades list and all of that kind of stuff. What are you doing, Andre? I remember, in fact, I had gotten in trouble. One particular class, we had PE. I think everybody loved PE. We had PE class, and because we wore uniforms, we would have to change out of our uniform and get into street clothes, if you will, backyard clothes, just to have PE class that our uniform wasn't sweaty and stinking by the time we put it back on after that particular period. And his son, the guidance counselor's son, hung up his uniform shirt in the bathroom in the gymnasium where we were having PE this particular day. And because, again, of the troubled mind that I had and looking for love, looking for attention, and the only attention I'm being able to secure at that time was the wrong kind of attention, I took a lighter to my classmate's uniform shirt, the guidance counselor's son, his shirt, and I lit it on fire. I burnt his whole entire uniform shirt up to a crisp. And I think that was what provoked this particular guidance counselor to say what he said to me that day. Now, I don't excuse what he said because it was very hurtful. And one thing that I know is that words follow you much longer than actual physical pain does. Now, I was rebellious. I will give that to you. But no one had the intelligence to look into my heart and mind to see, well, why is this young man troubled? If they would only peer into my life and see the kind of things that I was dealing with and the kind of social relations that I had at home with my parents, living with my grandparents, traveling back and forth across the U.S. and the Bahamas, then somebody would have been wise enough to say, hey, we've got to make a stable situation for this young man. And that's why his mind is all over the place.